is it funny? You think it's that funny?
I wasn't expecting a turtle.
It's not a turtle.
Yeah.
It's a box turtle.
It's not a box turtle.
Yes,
What
it
is
is.
What are you saying? It's the Nautilus from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
No, on my screen, my background is a turtle with the blue flower.
Oh, well, I don't see that. I see. I love big sacks, tight ends, and strong beef cheese. That's what I see.
Yeah.
Which, unless you get to the cheese part of it, can come off as really bad.
I know it can.
Welcome, everybody, to the Real Sharks Podcast, the podcast bringing you all that noise from 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. As my drunken robot Ken can attest and say hi to you out there, my audience.
Hello.
And then my fellow co-captain, his name is not Wiggles, even though I always give my first mate a nickname. Clap back to Futurama there. Is my co-host and brother from another mother, Steve. And I have some very special shout-outs to do tonight, as it is a very special show, and I would like to dedicate it to Monica Roob, Elena O'Reilly, Darren Hettinger, Clara Hauck, Elijah Rodriguez, Tiffany Satterfield, Della Teri Feest, Ken Greenholt, Jordanne Jarvis, Eva Terry, and frezza gadleya. Sorry if I butchered any of your names. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart for the support of this show.
Yes.
And these are our monthly subscribers, everybody. And these are our monthly supporters, I should say. And you will always get a shout out on this show and be thought of first and foremost. So we thank you.
Yes.
For making this show very, very possible.
Making it happen. You guys are the lifeblood.
Thank
of the
you.
show.
Exactly. Without them, we wouldn't be anything.
If I could cut my heart out and give it to you all, I would. But I don't want to seem so weak, so I'll just say, whatever.
You just go, Kalima.
I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, though, out there, thank you, everyone, for your support. This episode is for you. So let's go ahead and kick off some, I hate to say, that was some good news here for the Real Sharks Podcast, everyone. But, I really have to talk about this because this news kind of really struck me, and everyone kind of already knows where I'm going to go with this. Usually we save this podcast for more of the lighter news, but unfortunately for your host here, Rob, this one really struck me because for those of you who have listened to me and listened to this show for a long time, this guy was one of my favorite actors, and now he's passed, and that's the star Ray Stevenson,
Yeah.
better known as like Titus Pullo from Rome,
Yeah.
better known as the real Punisher in Punisher Warzone. I mean, this man was in Dexter. I mean, he was in Final Score. He was in everything. Ray Stevenson had one of the most renowned careers in Hollywood, and I am truly, truly sad that he is gone.
Especially now in the late, like from the 2000s onward, he was pretty much in a lot of key figured movies.
He was. Hunger Games.
Yeah.
He was always doing a lot of these
like
Thor
movies.
Three Musketeers. He was Thor.
Yeah, he was in the Thor movies a lot, yeah.
It just makes me really, really sad that we lost this guy. Killed the Irishman, I could go on and on about, but I just want to talk about some of his films while we're here today, because that's what Real Sharks is about films, and we're going to go ahead and do that the right way and discuss some of the great work he's actually done. And he was even in he was in Hunger Games, but he's also in some of the Divergent movies, which was funny too, which to me is also kind of a almost like, I hate to say it, and we're gonna just keep it real, our real sharks out there, it's kind of a B-list movie to the Hunger Games, I would say. That's just me.
It was before the Hunger Games, though.
But it was terrible.
I liked it better.
All right. Well, the first one, I actually sat through the first one. I had to, and then the second, third one, I was like, "Get the fuck out of here!" We're gonna have to bleep that. I'm sorry. But for real, I just really didn't find them. Why did you like them, Donna? Why did you like Divergent? I mean, did you think it was strong after the first one?
I don't know. I just, for that time, if I remember right, these came out before the Hunger Games, right? And so it was kind of something different, something new.
No, it's kind of a hot book like Hunger Games, so they were just kind of looking for the next Hunger Games.
They were trying to capitalize off of Harry Potter, I thought, right? Like they were trying to look for the next
not so much
series.
Yeah, they were trying. Well, that's
kind
great. And actually, Hunger Games came out in 2012. Well,
the first one was 2014.
Yes, so this was trying to, again, as I stand corrected. Yes, exactly. God damn it.
I'll eat my words.
This is why having your kin on a show is bad, my audience. Just kidding.
It really is sometimes, I swear to God.
Anyway.
That's a pretty big point, though. Like you guys were saying, like you guys like the, Donna, you said you liked the Divergent movies. You liked them?
I did, and I think it's mainly because, I don't know how to explain it. Like, she wasn't forced to do something. She wasn't, like, in the Hunger Games, she sacrificed herself to take place of her sister, and the society made these people do it or whatever, blah, blah, blah. It kind of had a different spin on it. Like, she wasn't forced to really do anything. And, the Hunger Games, she had the person that designed her dress and got popularity votes and stuff like that. This one is just, she's trying to live and make it, and she didn't need a stylist to do it.
Well, as a man who has survived the Hunger Games himself, obviously, right, Steve?
The Hunger Games of life.
Anyway, I want to point out too, Ray Stevenson played Marcus in Divergent. I will say this about the two of them. I will say one thing I really loved about Divergent, that when it came out, is I loved that line where everyone kept telling her, like, "You're not going to shoot me," and she's like, "Why does everyone keep saying that?" Bam! And we just keep shooting people. I absolutely adored that. I thought that was effing great. When it comes to Hunger Games, all I have to say, and you know what, I could stand to be corrected here, is if we let society get to that point where the rich get to just like basically have their way with us and hunt us and basically decide of who gets to be elites and everything like that, we deserve it. Because one of the things I kept saying about the Hunger Games is this concept of always, and God, Steve, we're going to this again. The concept of the hunted being, the hunted are always better than the people doing the hunting. That is the moral of these movies. That's why I don't like Hunger Games, because Hunger Games is basically just like a rehash of really of a story that's already been done before. But
aren't they all like that, Rob? They're all dystopian futures where the rich are.
Yeah, but Hunger Games is put on such a pedestal.
It's like it's like Oliver Twist in the future.
It's like, I'm sorry, it's like if someone wrote a book, Steve, about a robot that came back from the future and tried to kill everybody to stop a war, continue a war. It's like that's already been done. It's called Terminator.
Yeah. It's called Terminator. Yeah,
yeah.
Exactly. See what I'm saying?
It's true. That's true.
I'm just saying, and I'm not trying to say that anybody who out there doesn't like Hunger Games is you're bad. You're a bad person. I'm not saying that.
No,
I'm not saying that at all. What I am saying though is that it's just been done. And again, back to Ray Stevenson. I really don't remember his role too much in Actually, no. I think I do remember it more in Divergent than I do in Hunger Games. I remember because they did the whole, where they put their blood on the rocks or charcoal or something, Donna, right? Remember that? That's how they chose who they were.
Yeah.
He was I really want to get to this one when he was in Dexter in 2012. Do you remember this, Steve? He was Isaac Sirico. He was the assassin that tried to kill Dexter. And this,
Yes, I do
I want to
remember that
point
one.
out too, this was an interesting series, and and me and Steve, before we were ever big critics into this, we used to talk about off the air about Dexter, and one of the things I always told Steve about this is, man, when it got to this part in Dexter of the show, it almost was like done in chapters. Like they had like all these small little story ideas, and they were just kind of rolling through them, slow, like faster and faster and faster.
Faster, like super fast. It was like one episode. It was done.
Right, it was done. And this was one of those situations when you had Isaac Sirico come in, because he ends up killing the guy, if you remember correctly, Steve, who had the website, who thought that Dexter was actually the Bay Harbor Butcher. Man, God, I remember all this, Steve.
Yeah, I know, right?
2012, Bay Harbor Butcher. And remember, though, he comes and he wants to kill Dexter because Dexter, and this was kind of a big thing back in the day because it was kind of getting done. Remember, Steve? He killed his lover.
Yep.
Because Ray Stevenson in this plot was actually gay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what ended up happening, though, is we thought this plot would go on throughout the whole show because he goes and does
it was
wicked monologue to Dexter, like, I'm going to hunt you and all this other stuff.
Right.
And then Dexter just kind of kills him.
And that was, I mean,
that
we
was
talked
it.
about it off air, but this was like one of the like more disheartening, like that guy was not a main character. Like what?
Right. We were like, why? What a waste of a story. What a
Just
waste
kill
of
him,
a cool character. But Punisher Warzone. I mean, come on. Ray Stevenson is the Punisher.
Now, no offense to the 2005 Punisher movie. Like, that was
the
okay.
Real Punisher.
But this is the one that people wanted to see. They were like, oh, now this is the real Punisher. Not
this
like
is Punisher putting a guy's face in a meat grinder, basically.
Yes.
That was basically what this was.
That was a sick part of that film.
Yeah.
And this one came out 4 years later after The Punisher. Again,
2008.
Which is what's so interesting about this? The 2008 just being The Punisher coming out, comic book movies starting to come like to what it is now. Because Iron Man, the first Iron Man film, also came out in 2008. Which kicked off the whole MCU.
Yeah,
but
you're absolutely right, Steve.
Also, Warzone came out that same year. I saw it was a B movie, but I liked Punisher more than I liked Iron Man because I was like, oh, this one's more grittier, but it never got the attention because Iron Man kind of came in and stole that thunder from Ray Stevenson.
He's awesome in Kill the Irishman, one of the best characters in that movie being Danny Green. Of course, Thor, Volstagg. He was Volstagg in Thor. Three Musketeers. He was Porthos. Those are my fondest movies, but I really can't express to everyone. Besides, and then I don't want to really get into it too much, but you can go ahead and listen to our old episode of Monster Mashing, where we talk about Cold Skin, because Ray Stevenson was also the the star of that movie too. Which I hate to say it, which in that movie, he's having sex with a monster.
He's also Edward Teach in Black Sails, which is AKA Blackbeard.
Yeah.
So he was very good in Black Sails.
So those are, I think, some good fond memories of Ray Stevenson. But my fondest, and I'm going to get this is Rome. I always recommend this show to anybody. I always recommend, and that's why it's so sad, Steve, because actually, Steve knows I go back in my audience, I go back and I watch the show every so often because just to put it on for the background, because it's such a good show, and he is such a compelling character being Titus Pullo, and you have Arenas in that show as well, but I mean, Ray Stevenson really carries that. He's one of the best parts of that show. He looked
sick, dude. He's great. He was badass.
It's one of those shows too. You really understood who he was. You're like, wow, he's a big guy. Like that's kind of why I was so shocked by this tragedy, because he was such a fit guy. He was such a a big, huge, demanding kind of guy, and it was just like, wow, now he's gone.
Yeah.
We're gonna go ahead and take our first break. And please make sure you check out our sponsors of the show, which is Skillshare, everybody. And we will be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hey, looking for the latest movie and fashion swag? Check out Jagged Tooth Clothing. You can find us on eBay, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey guys, welcome back to Real Shockers Podcast. This is Donna with your host, Rob and Steve.
What's going on, everybody? And you're listening to that show that all the co-hosts besides the female here will probably admit that they are wearing suits and doing the show with no pants on, and that is the Real Sharks Podcast. And don't think me and Steve haven't stood in the studio and done it before, because we have.
We've done it in the studio.
We've done it.
Oh, hey, I'm in pajamas.
Well, there you go. So she's close. See, Steve commented off air, everyone, about how good I look, and cool, thank you, I appreciate that. But underneath, it's just, this is just the top.
It's just for show.
Just for show.
Just for the show.
Top.
It's kind of like the mullet.
The mullet?
Yes.
What mullet? Whatever. I just want to say shout out to my favorite. While we're on the subject, I want to say big shout out to Drew Barrymore. I love your show, Drew. I watch it all the time, and I try to do my hair like Drew Barrymore every once in a while. I try to do the Drew. Yeah.
And here I was thinking you were going to shout out Billy Ray Cyrus.
No, I'm doing a shout out to Drew. I love the Drew Barrymore show so much. Love Drew. Anyway, let's go ahead and continue on. Steve, you had some for everybody.
Yeah, I got some for the tried and true of this podcast. If you guys listened to us before, you know that we love the big kaiju monster films, Godzilla, King Kong, and we've raved about.
Are you talking about the one with Matthew Broderick, Steve?
Oh,
I love that one.
That's my favorite one. No, of course not that one. We were talking about how we were kind of liking the Godzilla films, as it was, more importantly, King of the Monsters. We were like one of the only podcasts out there that was kind of defending the flag, and kind of liking Godzilla versus Kong. That was okay, but apparently there's going to be more for this universe. There's going to be a sequel called Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire. And it's supposedly supposed to open up the monsterverse even more, Rob. We're talking several more monsters to be included on top of the already...
Yes, I see this.
Yeah, so you're going to get your Rodan, you're probably going to get your Mothra, which, spoilers if you didn't see the film, spoilers now.
Mothra was awesome.
Yeah, Mothra gets destroyed, right? Doesn't she? She kind of sacrifices herself for Godzilla.
Mothra is forever.
Yeah, literally. Just ask those twin Asian, whatever, Hawaiian. Whatever.
Oh, why are you starting, Steve? You want me to do that.
Yeah, but
true Godzilla fans will know what that is.
If I say twin Asian women resurrecting Mothra, you know. Yeah, I don't know what you think about this, Rob. A lot of people liked it, but apparently it's enough for people to really, get into this new monsterverse. They're making these films still. They're generating a lot of money. They've got a lot of CGI behind it. It looks pretty cool. But I don't know if it's going to.
They're going to do the effects at night, first of all.
Oh yeah, 100%.
They have to
have some dumb human element. You have to have that.
Okay. So we have director Adam Wingard, writers Simon Barrett, Terry Rossio, Jeremy Slater. We had starring Dan Stevens, Rebecca Hall, and Brian T. Henry. Yeah. So are you asking me, Steve, what do I want this film? Is that what you're asking me?
do you want any more? Were you satisfied with the Godzilla versus Kong
Well, I'm pretty positive those who listen to us on this show want this film because they are true Godzilla fans, except maybe the woman here, who's never seen.
You're probably right. I have not seen one single Godzilla film.
See, we almost finished each other's sentences. We are Ken. Anyway,
we are Ken. Sometimes depends on how you treat me that day.
That depends. So yeah, I'm for it, Steve, because I went in and when we first seen the first Godzilla, the remake that came out, I told everyone I couldn't believe one of the fucking God, we gotta bleep that again. One of the horrible things I thought about the new one when it came out, when we went to see it, is I remember, Steve, I told you, I looked right at you in the theaters, dead in the eye, and I said, Steve, we have gone around the world and we have not seen Godzilla once.
Yes.
I was like, if I don't see Godzilla, Steve, I'm gonna fucking blow my mind out.
There you go again. You gotta bleep that one out.
Yeah. I remember that. And it was like, again, we were 40 something minutes into the film and we barely got any look at Godzilla.
2014.
Yes.
And let me tell you something, my audience, your movie host, your humble movie host Rob here was shocked when he found out that this guy delivered Rogue One. And I told Steve, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Because I knew that this movie was also going to be bad too, because this is the same guy that did Monsters, which is also another kaiju film, which is absolutely terrible, and why Rob does not listen or watch trailers hardly, which actually changed a little bit today, and we'll get to that. But anyway, I'm for it, Steve, because I actually enjoyed. I've enjoyed all the legacy kaiju films. I think they're good. I think they're great. I think they're getting away from people, because I think maybe that generation like us that really watch the Godzilla films, not like my kin here on the co-host, and no fault of hers, because there was a time when Godzilla films were kind of hard to come by. You had to kind of either have cable or catch them at certain times, and even then they were heavily edited.
And they weren't at a lot of they were heavily edited. That's right, because I remember there was cuts, deep cuts of they would just miss parts, and it was a bunch of just you don't even know it was a Godzilla film. It was just it's just some Asian film until you saw Godzilla. What is this? Right. Or you had to go to a specific video store, in my case, and
exactly
weirdly
Blockbuster,
and it had to be in a weird section.
Exactly.
So yeah, it was crazy. I think unless remember Godzilla 2000.
I think people who were into dinosaur films, kids that were into dinosaur films, knew more about Godzilla, and I know Donna knew as a child I was heavily into that.
You still are.
Yeah.
Do not lie to our audience. You still are.
You never go around to dinosaurs.
Never go around dinosaur film. Just like I never grew up. I actually told my kid the other day, I said, he was just like, I'm too old for Disneyland. I said, you're never too old for Disneyland. You know why? I said, because that's like saying you're too old for candy. I said, do you know what I do on Halloween? And he looked at me, I said, I use you for candy.
I do the same thing. I want to laugh, but nope.
That's true.
I use you for candy. But I am 100% for it, Steve. I am actually 100% down to see this sequel, because we already saw a remake. It'd be interesting to see now a sequel to King Kong versus Godzilla, because everyone who knows this podcast and everyone who's a true Godzilla fan knows this is not the first time that Kong and Godzilla have squared off. It's actually happened in the 1970s when they actually made it. And fun fact, everyone, there's actually two different endings. Actually, I believe it's the Japanese. It's Godzilla one, and then America Kong one, but because they liked Kong so much. But yeah, that was actually one of the interesting things about that movie. So I'm all for it, Steve.
Yeah, me too. I'm all for this. I'm just glad that it's continuing.
I enjoyed the King of the Monsters. I really did, and I think
a lot of people didn't.
Well, but again, I think those who didn't enjoy it have just forgotten what a Godzilla film is. People are sitting there going God, this is such a stupid trope to have this. They're going to release the monsters to reset the earth, and I'm like, Have you ever seen a Godzilla film?
Yeah,
This
like all the way
is kind of
through.
what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
besides them living on a monster island, there's aliens, there's monsters that come from outer space. There's all kinds of stuff
Yeah,
like
did you
this.
see the Biolante one with the girl being the monster? It's like
Right. It's like
you gotta like watch the old ones and be like, oh, I get where they're going with, not just
right.
watching the film and be
And
like,
there was
this
so much
sucks.
homage to the original too that I loved. Like
Yeah.
they had the dun 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 dun.
Yes.
Doesn't Rob do a great Godzilla?
Sounds just like it.
Right. You should see me when I wake up. I can really do it.
Oh God, dude.
Right. Anyway, so we're gonna actually do this one for our audience. We're gonna have actually watch the Barbie trailer and have a reaction to it. But for those listening on many of our podcast or broadcasting platforms, please stay tuned for that. We're gonna be right back, and then we're gonna actually watch the Barbie trailer and talk about that for a little bit before we end this segment of the show. So we'll be right back, everybody. Okay, all I have to say, everybody, look, first of all, just off that trailer alone, that looks fantastic.
It looked good.
So, okay, before I get to, the peanut gallery here.
Oh, you're gonna be surprised.
Okay,
Oh.
I just want to say this. This is what I'm really impressed with. So first of all, I really can't hate this idea too much because this is a meta. And for those of you, our audience, who don't know what we're talking about in that terminology, what it is when you have a film where they kind of go fantasy into real world. So when the character basically in the plot bleeds into the real world, it's a meta. Like a prime example I can give anyone is the movie Enchanted, where she lives in that enchanted fantasy world, and then she gets thrown into the real world, and the prince and everyone have to come save her. Or another horror one I can mention is A New Nightmare, when it was about the main characters of the Nightmare series starting to have real dreams about Freddy, and they reanimated Freddy and made him absolutely terrifying for the real world. Like, it was again a new nightmare, but it was a meta. So it's, of course, I know most of our audience out there.
Scream's a meta as well.
Right, and I really can't hate this idea too much, because it almost seems like right there when they did the whole slipper things was I got the my kids should know this, Wizard of Oz. Then did you get not Wizard of Oz vibes there, Donna? Oz vibe. Exactly. That
Those
was
of you
Wizard
who
of
know, I live in Kansas.
Right.
For audience that are new, I live in Kansas, and I'm all the Wizard of Oz jokes.
Yeah. No, it's not funny to either one of us, so I'll join her in that. From Kansas, we get it. We hear it. Yes, we've been on the, and yes, we have been on the Yellow Brick Road, both of us. Okay, so
Listen,
shut up.
And I have a town that's close to me. We call it Oz because it's short for the town it actually is. But yeah, it's mysterious down there, depending on what time of day you go.
Kids there.
Oh, they have lollipops, but I'm pretty sure they're not lollipops. You'll hallucinate, all right.
That sounds like a place I want to go. Anyway,
Oh.
So what I was getting at here though is it really has that feel so far of and I'm just gonna spoilers our audience. Rob already said this, and Rob will do this because Real Sharks is a spoiler based show. I hate to tell everyone that, but it also too, we will tell you when a movie is just like everything else. So this film, to me, probably, Steve, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm going to be wrong, it's probably going to be about Barbie goes to the real world to save something that's going on in her world, like Never Ending Story, like the Nothing. So basically she has to travel to the real world, and what she's going to find out, of course, through a huge caper, that things aren't exactly foo-foo and Barbie like. And you're going to have Will Ferrell, who's obviously going to be that character that tries to stop her from, achieving that goal. And in the end, I guarantee you, Barbie she's going to stay in the real world. I guarantee you. I'm going to put it on there.
It has to end
I'm going to say it. I'm going to say Barbie's going to either, more than likely, if I might be wrong, but I'm almost positive. Usually these stories end with that character staying in the real world, because you have to grow up sometimes, which is what these movies are kind of about. Some like that. Never Ending Story a little bit different, but Elf was like that. Elf is the same kind of story. Elf is about, he goes to the real world and figures out that, hey, it's not all like,
lollipops and rainbows.
Exactly. There you go. So let's even though the two male experts know all about this, female character through history, let's go ahead and get the other female's perspective.
Right? Let's get what's on that actually counts.
What do you think, Donna? What did you think about that?
No, I can't believe I'm about to say this.
Looks good.
I enjoyed it.
Looks good.
It does look good. I'm looking forward to it. I usually do not watch anything with Will Ferrell in it because he kind of, I don't know. I didn't like him in Elf, and so that's kind of.
Will.
I get
that. It kind of dampened me on a lot of his other movies. But I loved him in Anchorman and Talladega Nights and stuff like that. Maybe this is going to be his redemption movie for me,
Okay.
You like his more grounded roles where he's not going so over the top.
Exactly. And then kind of this is off subject, but Percy Jackson, whatever that actor's name is. Green Mile. I can't stand him. But I guess he's got a new movie coming out where he's damn good, and I'm going to have to give it a chance and not hate him. Maybe. But hopefully Will stays.
Does this seem like it has a sexist appeal? Or a sexism or a sexuality, Donna? I'm being serious.
Really?
I'm being serious. It didn't seem like that to me. There is some jokes. There is some adult humor in there. Where I loved when one of my favorite jokes that's in the other trailer, and he's like, hey, can I come over tonight? And she's like, for what? But then all of a sudden, when they're traveling, he's like, can I come? And she's like, did you bring your swimming slippers? And he's like, and pulls them. See,
another I get it's a Barbie movie, but she's trying to I feel like she's the movie's trying to point out she's trying to figure herself out. Does she want to be in the Barbie world and always be Barbie, or does she want to go to the real world and no matter what, there's always
stay in the
Ken?
real world. Right. She's gonna stay in the real world.
But there's Ken. There's always going to be Barbie and Ken. It's never going to be Barbie. She's never going to be able to be her own person. It's always going to be
she will
Barbie
be
and
in
Ken.
the real world.
In the real, I feel like I
don't know.
Both of you guys are saying, because I think Donna is right, and I also think Rob is right, where it's two sides of the same coin. Where it's definitely Rob. I mean, it's going to be that same story of she's going to go into the real world. It's going to be a fish out of water. She's going to like the real world, but she knows she can't go back.
She's going to bring that real world back.
Or combine the two. Yes. We can all coexist.
So
but it is going to be
or combine the worlds.
Kind of
because it's yesteryear. Let's be honest. Barbie is popular, but it wasn't as popular as in the late 80s, 90s. When we were growing up, it was huge.
Our generation.
Yeah, our generation. I mean, that's why all of the garb and getup that they had, that was classic Barbie and Ken's actual clothing, because my sister was nuts about Barbie. So yeah, I seen those outfits on those Barbies and they have them in the movie. So I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
In a Barbie world.
They gotta have that. I bet you that's
good. They did.
Yeah. That's going to be the credit.
I don't know why, but I'm really hoping too. They got, because we are living in a material world, and I am a material girl. You'll get Rob. Just look at the neck. Look at the neck. Look at the neck. Speaking of which, this movie, when I first seen it too, Steve, it wanted me to bring it back a little bit old school here, and to a movie from 1998. And I know we talk about that a lot, but this film I feel like this is going to kind of be I don't know if it would be the underlying story, but it could be, because this film was just like this in a way.
Fight Club.
Fight Club. 1998, but this film had Tobey Maguire in it, Steve.
Oh.
You're like Fight Club. Had Jeff Daniels, Tobey Maguire, Joanne Allen, William H. Macy, Natalie Ramsey, Kevin Connors, and that was Pleasantville, Steve.
Yes, I love that film.
That's a great film. I would say, underrated film that doesn't. I would say a film that doesn't get enough credit. I really do believe that it doesn't. Have you ever seen Pleasantville, Donna?
I'm actually looking at the photo right now because I have seen it. I have. We had to watch it in school.
One of the timeless classics. It gets actually a
Good.
7.5 on IMDb. I'd actually give it an 8. 86% on Rotten Tomatoes. I agree with that.
Yeah.
71 out of 100 on the Metacritic. That's usually taken from around the web. I would not agree with that. I'd give it more of the 80s. Pleasantville is truly I think it's a film that captures more. Again, a story that kind of takes place nowadays. The story of stopping progress.
Yes.
I should say things change, which I love when people say that, like, well, they live back in the day. They live in the old world. Well, it's like things change, and that's kind of why I'm bringing this up from the Barbie film, because things change in her world. So just like things changed in this world. For those of you who have never seen Pleasantville, it stars Tobey Maguire, and he is a young kid who is obsessed with the show Pleasantville. It's kind of like a Andy Griffin-based show, where or actually, sorry, a more Andy Griffin, right, everyone? That's how old school Rob is. More like
well, no, I was gonna say it's got Don Knotts in it, so Andy Griffin, haha,
Yeah.
Party 5.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
More
Wow,
like
more like ourselves here.
more like a Leave It to Beaver though show.
Oh my God.
That's what it is. That's what it is.
It is.
The bee.
That's what it is. But what's interesting about it is you have a character who is a sister who basically doesn't go along with the story, because at first he believes that the way to get them out of this television show, which they are sucked into by Don Knotts, is that they need to follow the story. And as they're following the story, the sister decides to kind of go off par and decides to do her own thing. In doing so, she changes the story, but not just that. The show, which is done majority in black and white, they start to get color.
Yeah.
And it starts to become this huge trope of they hate the colors. Color is bad. The change is bad, because it's so in
playing
that
off of real life. People were
it's
freaked
playing
out
off
when
that boomer generation.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's those
Definitely.
that they believe that the people that could think on their own, those who
Right.
went against the grain, were
Right.
bad.
You think
Yes.
people like that are going to get upset about this Barbie movie as much as
I'm
far
sure
as
they
like her
will.
kind of like
But
moving
I just
forward?
wanted to
I
point
think
out,
the
like,
Karens out there in the world will.
I just wanted to
Yeah.
point out though how good Pleasantville though was. Pleasantville was such a good dramatic piece. Like I will never forget the court scene when he's talking about his mother, and and he was just like, talking about anger to the judge, and he's just like, yeah, it's change. You hate change, and he's like, I don't get angry, and he gets angry and he turns into color, and everyone's like, and it's just all shocking. Or even the remember Jeff Daniels role, Steve. He was the burger guy, and he wanted to paint, and he started to actually pursue his dreams, and it turned him. It's a great film.
Turned him. Yeah, it's great because
Great film.
there's so many different elements of change with each character, and it showed it dynamically through the story. It was great. I feel like, yeah, you're completely right where I think that they're going to touch bases. Like it's borrowing from the Pleasantville kind of symmetry of the movie.
Right.
And it's definitely going to do that. Because you saw what they were doing. There were multiple Kens from different races and creeds.
Yep.
There were different Barbies, races, and creeds. So they consciously made you aware, just like in real life, where there's multiple Barbies, multiple Kens. They all live in that perfect world. And they're probably gonna like have a story of why did her feet go flat, right? Because when she steps out the heels, she still has the heel type of thing, like the doll.
It's probably
going to
be a feminist message. It's probably going to be a woman empowerment message. I'm not lying here, audiences. I'm just being real with you of what it might be. But I would just say I think it will try to follow that Pleasantville trope.
Definitely, but in a good way. I feel I give good vibes that they're going to do it in the right way, where it's like, yeah, you can like these dolls, but you also need to embrace change as well. You can't live in the past forever. You have to.
Not every girl's a Barbie.
Yeah,
and everyone is unique. Not everyone is the same. We have our own differences, and that's what makes us beautiful.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is probably going to keep her into the real world.
In the real world, exactly. And I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't end up with Ryan Gosling.
Oh, that would be interesting, right? Where they kind of just go their own ways because, hey, they're developing as real people.
As their own people. Mm-hmm. But, Steve would know. He's flat in front like Ken.
Oh, yeah, dude. I love Ken. Bro, this is
actually, to be honest with you, my audience, I was leading the forefront to get Steve to play the black version of Ken.
Black version.
I mean, look at Steve. Is he not a Ken?
No.
Look at
No.
Steve.
Not even close.
Yes, but all Steve would need to do is just get that pump on. You guys haven't seen Steve after he has his pump. Okay,
That's my pump,
after Steve
my
leaves the
flat
gym,
chest all the way down.
I mean, it's rock status. You know, let me just say, everybody. I mean, it's like a goddamn Adonis. Let me tell you.
Listen, if we want to put like chocolate cocoa in the freaking.
Don't put me in there, please.
No,
Okay, no,
I was gonna say we can use Samar Moore as Ken. Okay, that will bring the females in to watch this movie.
Who? Who?
Shamar Moore.
Oh, okay. See, if I don't hear Steve's name, I don't care.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I think we're two Kens and a Barbie on the show is what you guys are listening to right now. We're in the film, and which is just so funny. Somebody was saying that this isn't Barbie and Ken's first appearance in film, where they brought up their appearance in Toy Story.
I thought there was official Barbie.
they made Barbie like the actual doll movies.
Oh, there's tons of them.
Yeah.
There's a ton of those.
I thought there was
Disney Plus has a bunch of them. Okay, so this is going to bring me to my next subject, and it's about the Barbie and Ken people. Do you think this may...
They'll be canceled by the cancel culture people?
No, like the real life couple that had the plastic surgery. Like, look it up.
Oh, like the guy who wanted to look like Ken and the woman who looked like Barbie.
Really?
Yes. Like, they've been doing this for years. Do you think that maybe they'll try and change their looks now since Barbie and Ken look nothing like these two?
I don't know if that will change too hard because, I mean, that guy, you can't really reverse
that guy.
Yeah, that guy he's just, that's it for him. You know, and he can't change what he's going to look like, but I don't know. I think that they did a good job. I just think that
Are you seeing the pictures, Robert?
Yeah.
You saw how he's looking like?
What a loser.
Hey, he may be a loser, but do you want to know how much that plastic surgery cost him? Which means he is not a loser. He has got money just to throw away.
Well, okay.
Wouldn't it be hilarious if
he's a rich loser
movie?
then?
Yeah.
He's in the film as like, you don't want to end up like melted
Them cheeks, man.
Oh, that would be hilarious. Like, hey guys,
don't look good, though.
They don't.
Oh my God, Rob! No, they don't.
They don't look good.
Don't.
Dude, he looks like he's on an episode of X-Files, bro.
He looks like he looks like he could be a Gray.
I'm waiting for him to look at me and say, "Hi, I'm Chucky. You want to play a game?"
Right. I mean he could be the Joker. Actually, look at that grin. Actually,
hey,
I don't know if
he could be the Joker.
He could be. You know what he could be?
I didn't say in voice. I didn't say in acting. I just said appearance.
He could be a victim of Joker's laughing gas permanently.
You know what? That actually might be that they should cameo him in the next Joker.
Just like
the Barbie one I'm looking at here. She looks absolutely like one of those dolls that some guys marry and stuff like
dolls.
That.
Oh,
they're not sex dolls. They're like real like fake. Like real doll, they're like life dolls, basically.
Like life doll type of things, but they're like weird looking,
basically sex dolls.
Big eyes.
Yeah,
more
they're basically sex dolls.
Yeah, they're sex dolls.
Yeah, and some guys get married to them and everything, which I understand. I mean, about being
at least
married
they have someone, Robert.
What now?
I said, at least they have someone, Robert.
Yeah, I know. At least they have someone. I know.
I love you.
I know. At least they have someone out there.
I mean,
I'm
Rob, I don't know.
A Momoa twin here like me.
I was just. You just got done doing a Fast and Furious movie, Rob. You don't need to be marrying.
Listen, your soulmate's out there. She's just probably living someplace cold.
Hopefully it's not like this woman that looks like Barbie though, because that's creepy. And I'm looking at some of these other girls too that do their faces like this. You gotta stop. You gotta stop.
Because there's no going back from that.
There's no going back.
I know, but I last story of the night on the round table discussion here before we go. I once met a guy. Let me spin you all a yarn real fast. I once met this dude, and he kind of looked like that. He kind of had like the high rise cheeks, very feminine looking guy, and I was talking to him, and we were hanging out. We were having like some lunch together, and I asked him. I was just like, "What's what's the deal? What's the deal with all the?" I asked him, Steve. I was like, "What's the deal with the getting all the work done? I mean, is it because you don't want to feel old? Is it because And he actually was honest with me, and I loved his answer. And I hope everyone can be more honest, like my friend was. And he said, to be honest with you, yeah, I don't want to look old. I want to look like a goddamn statue when they bury me. And I was like,
okay.
Okay, I respect that. That's cool. Okay, I'm totally okay with that. Like, he's like, yeah, because he's like, you see what happens when you die. He's like, you just wither away. He's like, I want to still be there when like I'm done. He's like, I want to look like
a
this
mummy that's not
the
gonna
day
just
I
ever
die.
go
Yeah,
away.
exactly.
A statue.
Yeah.
Did you tell
in
him
a
the
way-
concept about flesh and organs and
In a way, I kind of want to go the route of Imhotep. I mean, I hope Steve kind of recognizes that.
that
But
would be,
actually, we've already had this discussion. I want
we've
I
had
want
this
my
discussion
brain to
years
be
ago.
donated to science, but only if they let my brain sit in a little jar like Dr. Gero from Dragon Ball World's Strongest,
The
and I can
world's
just
strongest.
and
You're just in a
I
giant
don't
mech.
I don't want hands or appendages. I want like hook claws. And I want to be just a giant robot that walks around.
And I'm just I'm alone working on a
And
computer.
you won't know where my voice comes from, but every time I talk, it'll just be bubbles, and I'll be like, Steve, you missed the show last night.
I know, right? And I'm just like, he lives.
Those are my claws, honey. Those are my pincers. Those are my pincers.
That would be so funny.
Or do you remember that? You remember that thing from Mars Attacks when it's chasing chasing the truck and the robot?
That bitch.
Yeah, but with my brain.
That's what I was thinking of. I was like, what does that remind me of? And it was Mars Attacks.
But just with
that's
my
more
brain.
sustainable, Rob. Your brain in a mech like that's just going down the street.
Right. Just yeah. I mean, I think it could work. I mean, look at the movie. I can't remember that movie with Keanu Reeves at the moment where he had clones. Remember when they put the soldier and the robot?
Oh, what was it? Replicant? Was that the movie?
Yeah, replicas.
Yeah,
And he's
replicas.
just, what am I? Just starts freaking. I'm not gonna do that, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna literally be awakened, and I'm gonna be like, what's going on? And then they're gonna be like, well, Rob, we put your mind inside of a robot, and I'd be like, really? That's pretty cool.
Okay, guys. So I'm going back to this human Ken doll for a second because I was looking more into it. Okay. So after spending 2 years, the human Ken doll decided he was a she. He had spent $1.4 million on surgery, and now Ken is Jessica.
I don't know what you want me to say to that.
Yeah. That is.
I don't know what you want me to say to that. I really don't.
I would just say that was a decision.
That was a decision. That was a
decision.
I mean.
And the sad thing is, like, she looks a lot better as a female than she did as Ken.
Rob, you gotta respect that, bro. That is going hard at life. That is going all in.
Say I wanted to be Ken and then I just wanted to be a girl.
Yeah,
just all in. Every decision you make, think about it. You're doing
like
chips in everything, dude.
I respect anybody like that because I don't do that. I would never do that. It's just I respect it because I would never do it. So
But low key though, Rob, that like getting plastic surgery to make it seem like just build a statue of yourself. That does sound better than just like a tombstone. Just do a whole like statue of yourself, bro. Come on, man.
Just saying, just if you're honest about it, I'm totally cool.
Just take yourself in concrete and just be buried in it. It's the only way you're gonna.
Temple.
Yeah.
Steve already knows where I want to go. In my own castle, drinking my own wine, watching my kids grovel over my fortune.
Go, you're right before you pass.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been the Real Sharks Podcast. We again thank you for joining us on this fabulous evening. I am your host, Rob, with his co-host, Donna and Steve.
Yeah.
Make sure you listen, like, and subscribe. Like us on YouTube. Like us on Spotify. Make sure you help support the show wherever you can. And make sure you listen to us wherever podcasts are broadcast. And we'll catch you on the flip side, everyone.